Hey guys, Kurt Smith here again. Hey, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about pre-spawn and spawn and some of the migration habits of bass and what you want to look for to find those quality bites. You know, we hear a lot about the highways that fish travel to go from the main lake to their spawning grounds and how you want to intersect on those. And you know, that's exactly right. They have these migration routes that they go on. But on those migration routes, they actually have places that they'll kind of camp out at. Like, and then they'll wait for the conditions to get just right for them to move up to the spawning grounds. And it generally has food there as well. So they're generally actively feeding in these areas. And I want to talk about some of those movements of the bass and some of those places and how you can kind of pick them out. Okay guys, this is how we're going to do it. The black marker is going to represent the routes they travel. The red marker is going to represent the bass bedding areas. So what's going on is this is the main lake over here, and these fish come in on these routes, and they'll kind of follow these old creek beds and the contour lines and these road beds. And they'll go way back to all these little different areas. And these are the kind of the highways you hear a lot of people talk about. And there'll be, you know, more than one wave will be like this coming in, especially in the early spring. And especially if the weather's been going up and down. You know, if the weather's going up and down, they're going to move up, and they'll come up, and then they're going to pull back out. And then they'll move up, and they'll pull back out. I want to add one more color here. I add this grayish blue. Actually, let's make it brown. Make it brown. So the spawning grounds we're going to do in red are around these docks, way back in these creeks. In these protected areas, especially these pockets like that, man, like back in here, they're really protected, and you'll see them spawning there. Now there's other places that they'll spawn, but these are like the bigger spawning grounds, and that's what these fish are doing. They're coming back here, and they're coming from the main lake, rolling back in, coming up these deeper sections, and then they jump up. But on the way there, they're going to be hungry because they're traveling a lot of distance. It's springtime. Things are warming up, so their metabolisms are speeding up. So the spots that I like to target most are what I call like the restaurants or the rest areas on these routes. And some of those on the outside, more towards the main lake, will be like on the back side of these islands. Other places are going to be like on, you see this major point here? On that point. You know, kind of rotate around that point depending on, you know, where the fish are feeding and what's going on with the weather and the wind direction and stuff. And these other points, and they'll come and they'll hang out in those areas because they're on their routes, and it gives them some structure to hang out. Sometimes it's trees, sometimes it's rocks. For me, mostly I target these points, you know what I mean? I look for that deeper water where they can push bait up shallow on it. And if you can find the bait by these places, they can be killer, and they'll be there for more than a day or two. You know, sometimes you can find them there for weeks, because what's happening is it's not the same fish. The fish are coming in, and then some of them are pit stopping, and they're hanging out and feeding like at a buffet. And then they go up and do their thing, and they wait for the conditions to be right, and then they go do their thing. But it's also getting them on the way out. So as waves come in and waves go out, these areas will hold fish. They'll hold post-spawn fish and pre-spawn fish. So a lot of times where the beds may kind of drift and move around a little bit as the bedding season goes on, and sometimes it gets, you know, it's not as strong as it is in the beginning, or the beginning's kind of weak and it's strong later on, where you can count on these bedding areas. Some of them will dry up and other ones will keep bass on them, but these spots will tend to hold bass longer. You know, they're not going to be there every single time. And like right here is actually another really good spot. They're kind of protected spots because it's still kind of early, and the bait will move in there. And if they can rest a little bit and they can feed up, that's where you're going to find them. So guys, I hope this helps with your map studies when you're looking at tournaments for this spring coming up. I know it's been a long, crazy winter, and here we go, man. Let's give it a hell for 2021.